Hello, my friends. Welcome in. It's episode 8. I think I have discovered a bug in FM22 that makes me wonder if we should continue the save. That's not clickbait. Stay tuned and watch this episode. I am pretty concerned. We will go through the transfer window, but it has to do with the transfer window and the things we ran into in that window, plus some other things I'm seeing on the forums in regards to loans and options to buy. Let's go see what we've done, and I'll explain the issue as we go. I am pretty excited about the rest of the window. It's just this bug has me going like, oh, is this a problem? Let's go see. As always, thanks for your support. Hit that like button, subscribe if you're new. We're trying to get to 10,000 subscribers this year. First kind of hurdle is 6,500. We're almost to 6,100. So if you're enjoying this and you're still watching and you're not subscribed, what are you doing? Hit that button over there. Let's go. All right, I've got Leo Weichert here pulled up. He's one of our youth prospects. He's 18 years old. We've got him signed to a contract now at $700 a week going through 2024. That's all well and good, except that's not what I wanted. I wanted, because of the financial situation we find ourselves in, I wanted to have all of our youth prospects that were interested sign a provisional contract where they would sign it at the end of the season. I'll show you what I mean. It's not going to let me do it with Leo because he just signed a contract, but let's use Luka Podlek, our pretty good-looking 16-year-old prospect. So you see up here, we've got the contract start date of 2/21/2022. So for you non-Americans, that is February 21st, right? Because you get the day, month. Anyway, I wanted all of our contracts to start at the end of the season to save us money. We're trying to get promoted and not go bankrupt. Maybe not in that order. So you click this, right? And once you go through that, it adds, I'm gonna walk away because I'm gonna reset the save file. It adds, I'm gonna find somebody who've got this. Yeah, it adds this provisionally agreed to sign a new contract on this date, meaning it's agreed, it's just delayed until the end of the season. Then the contract kicks in at the higher wage so that we have the dad music here. Dad music, get in. And he's on $400 a week versus going to be $825. So if I had to put that contract into place today, that's costing me an extra €425 a week that we can't really afford. So like, this is a strategy to go like, hey, even with like players you've got currently, like first team players, like I want to give you a raise, but let's do it at the end of the season. Let's go ahead and sign that contract going into next season. Those types of things. Do it all the time. Except this time, it took this provisionally agreed contract and ignored it. Yeah, let me show you. I have a save file I'm going to take you back to. All right, as you can see, we're now on December 26th. So I've gone back to December 26th. Leo Weichert, that I pulled up earlier, $400 a week. He's on his existing contract. So his contract is going to expire in 6 months and 5 days. So we offered him a contract. He provisionally agreed to sign the new contract, $850 a week. Done and dusted. It should make those other teams go away. He's already signed a contract. It's going to kick in. Bada bing, bada boom. Everything's good, right? Well, let me now take you to deadline day, January 31st. All right, so here we are, deadline day, January 31st. The yellow background gives an indicator it's the middle of the season. He's still on his $400 a week contract. Go to the contract now. The text is gone. And I've had to, in a panic, on deadline day, offer him a contract like effective immediately so that he doesn't get poached by a bunch of teams that are interested in offering him an end of contract. You're like, well, maybe GHG, maybe you just like forgot that you did that, or no, like I have the save file. We offered him a contract, and here's the thing that's an indicator for me. I'm gonna zoom this up because you can't see all the contract stuff that are promises because we may have signed some players. But you can see here, where is he? Leo. Find a loan move. You can see it's been right? Okay. Started 12/9/2021. That's when I offered the original contract. I got into December and went, yeah, we probably need to like re-sign our really good youth players because no one's come in for them with a high enough value. Like, let's do that. So I offered a contract and they're like, I want to be loaned out. And I'm like, yeah, sure, whatever. Like, I'm pretty, like, cool, whatever, that's fine. Let's go get you some playing time and maybe somebody will eat some of this contract cost for you. That would be great. So it starts the promise on December 9th that says you have until the end of the transfer window to get me my loan move. That's tied to that contract promise on the provisional contract that I offered, which is fine, except then you get to deadline day and the provisional contract has disappeared? Not okay. Not okay, SI. And this happened with, if we go back, pretty much all of these youth prospects that say, find a loan move, find a loan move. All of that happened on deadline day. It just disappeared, the provisional contract offer that we had in place. So as you can imagine, especially at a club like ours with lots of pretty decent looking youth prospects, that caused immense stress and chaos on deadline day. And in fact, because it's like, well, why did you have that save file back on December 26th? It's because we got a new chairman. I was going to show you we had a new chairman. Yay. But like, all of a sudden it was like, oh, I need to be able to go back and like report this as a bug. And I'll be honest with you, I went back and had to start offering contracts effective like in January or in December for those players, because it caused all kinds of problems and we were going to lose these really good players for zero, right? And again, the other issue was that it wasn't, they weren't even being offered end of contract offers. Well, maybe they were, because it was like €0 fee. But again, I already had the provision in place. The loan promise was made, and then all of a sudden they can get poached. That is a massive problem, I think, in the transfer aspect of Football Manager 22. The other thing that I've seen on the forums, which kind of leads me to go like, ooh, like this could be a much bigger problem. There are reports of players on loan. It says loan with option to buy issue. So it says I loaned 2 players at the start of the season with an option to buy for certain amounts. Tried activating the clause for each of them, but the offers simply get rejected. Also, the green exclamation mark when making the offer is not shown. I've uploaded the same, like they've reported it as a bug. And so I go, so for some of the players that we have that says like promotion from the Bundesliga option, 500K, 1 million, 2 million, something like that, the likes of Zalazar, Thomas, the left back, who you all gave me feedback on how to pronounce his name, but I'm riled up right now, so I can't handle it. But like those types of things, all of a sudden not working is a major problem. Like, it's a major problem where you go, should we not keep playing and hope that that gets fixed by Sports Illustrated quickly and a patch put in that also applies to all saves rather than just like disappearing? I'm really concerned. Like, and I'm curious if you've run into either of those issues where you've loaned a player with an option to buy, or loaned a player with the expectation, like the option of promotion and buying, because that obviously very applies to us. Or if you've done any of the provisional contract and all of a sudden it disappears heading into the January window or the middle of the season window, depending on where you're playing. Has this happened to you? So with that being said, I do want to go through like the recent games and the transfers we did get done, not leave you hanging there. And I'm going to, I guess, keep playing forward. But I guess if it's all broken, okay? So like if I have to offer all of our contracts immediately rather than at the end of the season, that's a problem. But like we could, I guess, get by with it. And then if the players we've loaned in we can't buy if we get promoted, I will come up with a narrative reason why that doesn't work. But it just seems really, really bad if that is a thing. I haven't gotten there yet. That's the thing. The loan to option buy thing, maybe one error and one player's save somewhere in the world. But it just makes me nervous because we have so many players with that option to buy based on promotion. Like, if that's broken, our squad planning for next season becomes more difficult. So let's talk about squad planning. We have sold Salif Sane to Celtic, my friends. Celtic. For 425 grand, rising to 575 grand. I think it's a pretty good deal. Simply because it saved us 3.5 million in wages every season. He's a great player. I did appreciate, there was a ton of comments on the last episode about what to do with Danny Latza and Salif Sane. And some people said Sane is good enough to be like that Bundesliga squad player or backup player, that leader in the locker room, the experienced head, all that kind of stuff. But his physicals were a risk. I just didn't think a team that is 270 or whatever million euros in debt could afford to just burn 3.5 million a year on a guy who's falling apart physically and has had 2 horrible knee injuries. More on that in a moment. But we sold him 425, rising to 575. I think it's based off if he gets like 30 appearances or 50 appearances. I'm hoping in a little bit that becomes a clause we can just buy and not have to worry about him getting horrifically injured and not being able to buy the clause again. But he's gone. What I was thinking with this is I'm thinking about how do we start setting up for our first season in the Bundesliga, assuming we earn promotion either through winning the title or, coming in second or going through the playoffs. And I think I was targeting somebody, like, you say that leader in the locker room. Well, he's only got 11 leadership in the game. And so you go, well, that's not very good. And his technicals are fine. Obviously, his main thing is he's got 18 jumping reach and he's 6'5" and he's strong. So, like, you can get him on set pieces and bonk it in next to Simon. Great. That'd be great. But the other aspects of his game, the mentals, the physicals falling off, and really the contract cost, I went, I don't know if that's worth it. Like, if we could deploy that extra money anywhere else or in youth prospects or whatever. So essentially we sold Salif, and then because of what was going on with the provisional contracts, I started offering contracts effective immediately to like 6 or 7 or 8 youth prospects, and it took them from, like 65 a week or 450 a week to over $1,000 or right at $1,000 a week. So we redeployed, a small portion of his wages into a bunch of youth prospects that hopefully next season they either get really good and we can use them, or they get pretty decent and we can sell them, because obviously, if they're coming up on the end of their contract, their value is going to go down as a prospect, right? So people were offering like $40K for a potential 5-star center back in Leo Weikert. And I'm like, I'm not, 40 grand. Are you out of your mind? Like, he could be world class. So that was the idea with Salif, is cash in his wages, get a little bit, like, I would have sold him for free, but like then there was like a couple teams interested, but Celtic was like the primary one, and then redeploy that into the youth and maybe a player. We'll talk about it. Michael Langer has gone to San Jose. Yeah, I've neglected to notice that his contract for loan to San Jose was only through the end of their season, not the end of our season. And so he came back. I was like, what are you doing here? And he's like, hey. And I'm like, oh no. Here's the thing that's really annoying. He was on 10 grand a week with us, and he got 5.75 grand with San Jose. And his agent demanded 80 grand to make the deal happen for compensation for wages lost. And so I tried to negotiate that down to 40. He was like, no, we're going to cancel the deal. So we settled on 70. So it cost me 7 weeks of his wages to get rid of him. But I kind of went, well, here's the math, right? There was another 26 weeks of his wages on the books for his contract. So we saved 19 weeks. So we saved 190 grand, and he's gone. 37. See you later. Now I'm going to show you the Holston Kiel transfers, and there's a reason, and this is what has me concerned about transfers in general, is the player that is right here from us that we sold for 120 grand, yay, is nowhere to be found on our transfer history. Nowhere. So, it's just like, it makes you nervous as a content creator. Like, if you're playing your own save, you're like, well, I'll just go play another video game until, that gets fixed by Sports Interactive. And it's like, well, when you have a YouTube channel based off of their game, and all of a sudden you're like, I don't know if this is working or not, you kind of get a little concerned. But anyway, it's Mark Ratzkowski we have sold. We are paying 1 grand a week of his contract. I think his contract with us was through the end of this season, so theoretically we're only going to pay 26 grand towards that. So 120 minus 26 grand, I think is how that math works, is essentially we've netted 94 grand. He just wasn't going to play. It's better for him. I feel bad, but like, he just came in on a free. So like, I think this type of business, if we could pull this type of business off where we get players on frees and 6 months later sell them for 120 grand, or the next season, might be useful. Obviously, we would like that 120 grand to be 1.2 million. But again, I just wanted to point out, he's on their list. He is not on our list. I will show you that. I want to just go through all ours, so it's not like, hey, here's all the players. And here's the weird thing. Okay, this is what was also confusing. So this is Luis Klein, who has been loaned out to Koblenz through the end of the season. His provisional contract was fine. So, like, can you imagine? You're like, I signed all my provisional contracts, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh, no, you didn't. And, like, people are disappearing. Or not disappearing, but, like, their provisional text has disappeared, and they're getting free offers, and, like, you start going, like, well, whose contract's still valid, who's not, and, like, so some of them were fine, but it was very, very confusing. So, again, he's just these prospects. We've extended him. You know, they're paying 50% of his wages. I'm not saying he's a worldie or anything, and I'm not going to go through all the outs of the loan players in great detail, but, like, again, talk about confusing. The one other loan I will show you is Timo Becker has gone to St. Pauli. He's got 3-star potential, and that's in the Zweite Bundesliga. So if we get promoted, I'm just not convinced Timo Becker is long for our team. And if that's the case, from a squad planning standpoint, you go, well, then we need to get him some game time and get him more valuable, because his contract's up at the end of next season. And so we've loaned him out to St. Pauli on a contract where they are paying, you know, 600 a week plus 1.7. So essentially they're paying like 1,100 a week, like half of his wages. 600 when he's playing, 1,600 when he's not playing. So they're paying essentially, I think, half of his wages. It was better than nothing as a squad player. So, like, he's going to get more time than he was getting with us. And I just thought that's better for him from a development standpoint. It's better for us financially, and it's better for us financially if he gets, like, really good, or, like, at least decent to where somebody in the Zweite Bundesliga would buy him. And again, that sounds arch. Like, I know we want to use, you know, like, youth academy products, but if he's not going to get past, you know, the 2-star he's at right now, or the 3-star potential he's got in the Zweite Bundesliga, then he's probably not long for the squad. So that's why he won't be with us this half of the season. Martin Freisel has accepted an end of contract with Bochum. We're going to keep him around because I don't think any of our youth products were good enough to just, like, go ahead and punt him right now. So we're going to need a backup keeper going into next season. Oh, and this is random. So Jordi Mafundu here, his brother is in our team, Artie, and we offered Artie an extension, but not Jordi, and he's leaving on an end of contract to go to VVV Venlo. Again, he has, you know, 1.5 to 2.5 star potential, and I was just like, I was kind of torn because his brother is, like, pretty good. I'm like, is his brother going to be mad that we didn't offer him his brother an extension contract? But apparently it's fine. He's like, man, you need to go get some playing time. See ya. You know what I'm just realizing? I wonder if, for some reason, the second team transfers don't show up in my transfer list, but they don't have their own transfer list. It's not an option. So we've sold Blendi Adrizi to HJK, that we all know and love, for 150 grand. Again, he's a decent player. He was going to be a second team regular, but, like, he's not going to be, if we get to the Bundesliga, he's not going to be a Bundesliga product, and it was better just to get rid. So I'm pretty happy that we got 150 grand for him. Now we have added some players, my friends. Xavi Simons, I think, the PSG product. I recognize the hair and the photo from, like, something I saw on Twitter a week or two ago about he was going to wait until the end of his contract to make a decision. Our scouts happened to find him. That's how I like to play FM. If you're new around here, I like my scouts to find players rather than going to, like, a wonder kid list or something like that. I'm not saying he's a wonder kid, but the board wants to sign players under the age of 23 for a profit. We got Xavi here. I'm going to see if I can remember to put the contract up right there for you for 1.1 grand a week. No, that's what he's on right now. His wage with us will be 3 grand a week, and he's a squad player. We'll see if he ends up being a squad player. He has an 8 million euro release clause. We paid him 100 grand loyalty bonus to come sign for us. I think it's a pretty, like, low risk deal. Again, I don't know if he's going to get squad player minutes. We'll have to see how that goes. But I think anytime you can get a player on a free that is worth, by the very odd transfer value system in FM22, between 275 and 2.7 million, like, even if he's only worth 500 grand, profit, right? Like, so I'm pretty pleased that a player like that, 18 years old, wanted to come to us, because there was a bunch of teams that were lined up, and he, he was like, yeah, I like that American guy over there that's wearing a Liverpool shirt while managing Schalke, or a sweatshirt. You know what I mean? I think I just discovered another bug live. Fantastic. Or not live, while I'm recording. HJK, right? We went to look to see at their current season's 2022 because they're the January to December type season. Hey, there's Blendy. All right, now we're on 2022 here. Click transfers, transfer history, 22-23. You shouldn't be able to click that, and it doesn't have any of our players, right? It's only the ones that have already happened in the game. This should not default to this. When you go back, you see we paid 300 grand. This is kind of like a buried the lead here for Steve Cook. And I know what you're thinking. You're thinking you just sold Sane for 425 and 67K a week in wages, and you bought another old guy with some potential knee issues. Fair. And you're paying him 20 grand. Oh, hear me out. Hear me out, my friends. I think if you compare, okay, let's just do a little quick comparison here. Can I even find him? There he is. Okay. Steve Cook is a better defender. He's one step off physically. I think that's primarily because Salif has got the jumping reach and the strength. He's the same speed. His vision's not as good, but I'm not necessarily going to play him as a ball-playing defender. Equally good attacking, slightly better technically, and obviously because Salif is a giant of a man, he's not as good in the air. But his mentals are better, his defending is better, and what I like about Steve, 16 leadership, 15 teamwork. We're talking like captain/vice captain material. Now, we got him obviously from Bournemouth. He's an experienced center back. I had the option. I did sign him for an end of contract. Now, based on everything I've told you in this episode, I was nervous if that was going to happen. And it did give me the option. They wanted originally 500 grand. And I was like, I'm just going to do an end of contract. But then I started thinking, this makes sense to me. From a, like, financially, yes, it would have been better to just leave it and not pay the 300 grand. 100% agree. 100% agree. So you can stop your angry comment. But I think from a squad integration, from a dynamic standpoint, if Steve is going to be that leader in the back line, he's got to learn German, he's got to learn his team, he's got to learn our tactics. Do we want him learning that in July, or do we want him learning that in January so that he can get 6 months under his belt to get ready for next season? I said, I think I'd want him now, even though it's going to cost us, because I wanted to have that stability. Now, is that going to limit some opportunities for like Dries Wouters or Milik? Yes. Koi Itakura is going to rot on the bench. He's just not been good enough for us. Kaminsky can rotate in as well. So essentially, I have been playing Dries and Milik together, and that's fine. And I want to keep giving them opportunities. But Dries is a left-footed center back, so he's going to take the left. So it's essentially Milik and Steve are going to have to rotate. But my thinking here from a big picture, planning for next season, is you want somebody who already knows the tactics, who has the leadership, the work rate, that commanding voice in the locker room. I think it makes sense to bring Steve in now, even though it costs us 300 grand. So essentially, we've netted 125 grand swapping out Steve for Sane, plus 47 grand a week in wages. So like we're still coming out well ahead. I didn't, if we go look here, okay, if we go look at the squad depth, let's just do it this way. Okay. Did I really want to go into our first season in the Bundesliga, or back in the Bundesliga? And that's if we make it. So Steve can hopefully help us make it with Dries here. Okay. He's fine. But like Dries, Milik, Marcin Kaminsky, and Timo Becker as our like starting options at center back, I just didn't think that was wise. I think like they're all relatively young. Like Dries is I think 24, Milik is 20, and Marcin is not as good and is 30. But Marcin might need to go in the summer window. So I went, I think we need that veteran presence that hopefully isn't going to fall apart physically, and give him time to learn German and the squad. Now, Ozan Kabak may be coming back. Ozan Kabak may be coming back. Anybody? Just me? Okay, cool. Norwich at one point were 13th in the league. They're currently 16th, and they are 4 points clear. So it kind of depends. I have been under the assumption the entire time they were going to activate his 12.75 million option. I would love if they didn't, even though he's on, what is he on? Is that full wages? Yeah, he's on, 38.5 a week. That's a ton of wages, but we can immediately sell him theoretically for double that. So that's been kind of the tricky thing, is going like, I don't want to go too crazy with transfers and then have all of these loan players come back and not have anything to do with them. So I'm curious what your thoughts are with Steve. He's made 4 starts. He's on a 6.95. Mark's opponent tries to play way out of trouble, does not dive into tackles. Experienced center back. He doesn't know a lick of German, so that's why he's going to have to learn it. I'm wondering, because people are like, you should keep Sane, and like he could be that option. So essentially we've swapped him, but we've saved a ton of money. That was my thinking. Danny Latza, he is still with us. We tried to loan him. We tried to list him. He doesn't want to go. No one wants to buy him. His physicals are falling apart. He's on 14.5 grand a week. He's our vice captain because I'm an idiot. And we moved him to fringe player, and he didn't really complain. We'll try and move him on in the next window. I'd love to keep a guy like this around that's coming back to finish his career off. He's just horribly expensive and technically or physically falling apart. So, like he could play, what's the best thing here? A halfback? No, an anchor man, where he just, like an anchor. He just sits there. But it's like, I don't think I should necessarily be trying to adjust our entire setup just for him, right? So that's where I'm going to leave it, my friends. I'm going to bring you back. The next episode, I'm going to be wearing the exact same thing because, like I said, I'm going to keep playing forward. We'll take on 10th and 17th, I guess. But I'm really wondering what your thoughts are about the transfers, the loan to buy, the provisional contracts. Because, again, like I would sign definitely Thomas, who has this promotion from the Zweite Bundesliga, 2 million. Although, could I just offer him a contract? No, it's not going to let me do that. Even though his contract is up. Because this fee is in here, isn't it? I'd sign Rodrigo, probably. Joe, I don't think we're going to be able to loan back, and we're not going to be able to sign him. Marvin is probably a no, 500 grand. I mean, if we could get him for 500 grand and flip him after 6 months or loan him out, maybe. Koya Takura could go back to Man City. Good riddance. Yeah. So squad planning, transfers, and obviously we got all these players that'll be coming back if we don't extend them. Here's the financial situation, though. 279 committed. Currently spending 283. Next season's wage budget, that was a question from the comments. It was 350. It's up to 400. It says our minimum guaranteed budget next season is 113 grand. We've got tons of money if we wanted to make any moves leading up into the summer. That's the other thing I wanted, is like as we start getting closer, this is the key. As we get closer to getting locked into promotion, if that happens, I want to start offering new contracts to our existing players that maybe don't include a 35% wage increase and can lock them into a longer term contract rather than waiting till we're in the Bundesliga and all of a sudden they want 67 grand a week. But if you enjoyed this episode, my friends, hit that like button. Subscribe if you're new. I can't wait to see what you think. And again, when I do a video like this, you automatically go, are you sure, GHG, that you didn't like misclick something? And I'm so confident that I didn't, because I went back. I was so paranoid. I went back and tested it. I started offering those provisional contracts, and it still happened. So I'm curious if that's happened to you as well, or is it just a weird thing going on with my system? I still can't get the sound to work, those types of things. I'm still very happy, don't hear me wrong, with FM22. I think the match engine is a significant improvement. But there's some stuff like that where you're like, ooh, that's not good. And I get, going back to the transfers here, like Mark Ratskovsky should be here as an in. He should be on our list as an in, at the very least, even if he ended up being sold from the second team. But again, being sold from the second team, he should still show up here, shouldn't he? Shouldn't he? Like, same thing though. Blendi Idrizi is not on our sold list because he was in the second team. But if you're going to do that, I know I've extended when I was like, yeah, that's the end of the episode, and then I keep yammering on here. Like, there is no transfer, right? Transfer history? There's no transfer history. That's not an option. And so if there's not an option for that, shouldn't the transfers show up in my transfers? Here in the main team? Like, there's not a, right? There's not any way of looking at it? I don't know. Like button, subscribe. We'll see you soon. Have a good one. Next episode, 9 o'clock tomorrow. Bye-bye.